Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Soul Method podcast.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I am your host, Joelle Fawcett, and I am the founder of the Soul Method, where our mission is to be your guide to heal from the past, be at peace in the present, and create a future you love. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of the Soul Method podcast, titled The Divine Feminine. And I am sorry, I know it's been a few weeks. Has anyone been busy? It's been a bit of a busy season. I have been getting ready for the holidays. There's been a lot going on, lots of events and lots of things happening. And so my sincere apologies for being away from the podcast for a minute. I hope everyone is enjoying this time, enjoying this season, and taking a moment to really settle into the celebration that is the solstice, Yule, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you are celebrating. And I wanted to dive into this topic today because I actually was inspired by some of these ideas on the morning of my birthday, which was the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And I saw a short little video on social media that talked about modern feminism, that talked about the divine feminine, the sacred masculine, and made some pretty bold claims. And it really got me thinking about the state of modern feminism and modern masculinity in our culture today. And I wanted this podcast episode to be the start of a conversation, because here's the reality. I don't have all the answers, right? No one who has a microphone, puts out a podcast, has all the answers. I'm here to share my experience and things that have been taught to me. No one who does this thing has all the answers. And so I would really, really like to hear from you guys after we kind of go through this about what your thoughts are, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, and continue the conversation. Now, before I talk about the video that inspired this podcast episode, I want to just talk about the divine feminine and the sacred masculine and those energies, because I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there about them, and let's clear the air a little bit. So the divine feminine and sacred masculine in a person has nothing to do with the gender you were born as, the gender you identify as, etc., right? I'm sure you all have women in your lives who are far more masculine than feminine, and I'm sure you all have men in your lives who are more feminine than masculine, and it has nothing to do with their sexual orientation. It probably just has to do with the energies that they reside in most authentically in their personality. Okay, so on a one-to-one basis, we all have both of these energies in us. And at a very physical level, these energies are what enable us to live. We are designed as human beings as both earthly and spiritual souls. We are not just in the physical, we are not just in the spiritual. We are a living representation of God made flesh, of the coming together of an earthly form and a spiritual form, right? I've talked about that before, about how each and every one of us has desires planted in our heart by God. And when we make those desires manifest here on earth, we are making manifest that representation of God or spirit or whatever name you use for that power of the universe. And as human beings, we have this fleshly, earthly body that is born of the feminine. That is the womb energy, the earth grounded. Bone and blood and flesh are the womb energy. That is where the divine feminine resides, is grounded deep into the earth. And these bodies then that are of the feminine energy, we are all born of a mother, are then filled with the breath of the sacred masculine, born of blood and earth, filled with air of the masculine. While the feminine energies are very emotional, very of the heart, very nurturing and warm, and like I said, that is the womb energy. The masculine energies are very rational. They are the warrior, the protector. They are the water and air. The water that cleanses our skin and the air that fills our lungs. And so as human beings, we are a representation of this yin and yang, this perfect synchronicity of these two elements working together in order to simply exist, right? And in an ideal world, we exist within that yin and yang of ourselves, within that perfect balance. And obviously, we are all born masculine or feminine. We are all born as man or woman. And last time I checked, I know there's a lot going on around gender identity and this, that, and the other thing, but last time I checked, we are all born man or woman. Every baby comes out a boy or a girl. There's no gender neutral child being born on the planet. And side note, you guys know me. You guys know I am very blunt and I say a lot of politically incorrect things. And I am okay with that because I don't need anyone else on the planet to agree with me for me to share my thoughts. If you don't agree with me and the things that I say make you upset in any way, I am open to having a conversation with you, or to be quite frank, you don't have to listen, right? So we have these two energies that come together to both conceive and bear life. And then in our physical beings, while we are all born man or woman, we all are a representation of these two energies working together in perfect synchronicity. And on this video that inspired this episode, what the woman in the video was saying is that modern feminism has tricked women. And I thought this so interesting. And what she said was modern feminism has encouraged women to embrace their masculinity and put aside their femininity. While in reverse, modern feminism has encouraged men to put aside their masculinity and encourage them to lean into their femininity. And what she said is that we had been tricked. And I thought this incredibly fascinating because I can see it everywhere. And to be quite frank, I believe her. Now, like I had said, the feminine by nature is the cradle, the womb, the holder of energy. The feminine is the anchor, the cord to the earth. The masculine by nature is the protector, the warrior, and the hunter-gatherer. And the masculine will always look to be grounded by the feminine, the way that the feminine looks for air from the masculine. Now, am I saying that women aren't warriors? No. Am I saying that men aren't nurturing? Absolutely not. Because like I initially started this podcast, we are all a combination of these two energies. And alone, these energies do have distinct attributes. And when I had watched this video, it really struck me that we have created a culture where we have women who are now afraid of their divine feminine energies. They're afraid of their wild divine feminine souls and now are instead ungrounded, fearful, and tame. And they are bearing children and unable to pass on the teachings, let alone ground their household. At some point along this shift, we've made a shift, and at some point we lost the wild woman and the warrior man a long time ago. And I really believe we are now in a massive rebalancing where these energies are demanding to be heard. The effect of this trend of modern feminism that encourage women to be masculine and lean into that energy and encourage men to lean into their femininity. What's happening is that women are becoming the ultimate doers. We are told to go get that 9-to-5 to build an empire, that you don't need a man to do all the things. You can do it all by yourself. Where in contrast, men are being told that they are toxic if they lean into their masculine side. If they are fierce protectors, or if they dare say out loud that a woman looks attractive, if they take the lead in a relationship. Our culture is turning women into men and men into women energetically, and as a result, we have children who do not know what they are or how to become grounded in their own identities. I don't think this will end well. In ancient times, like if we go way back and look at ancient pagan religions, the feminine was revered and protected. So when I talk about the divine feminine, ladies out there who, if you cringe at the thought of a 50s dress and being a housewife, I am not talking about that, okay? So you can put your oven mitts down, take your apron off, unplug the vacuum. That is not what it is to embrace your divine feminine, okay? In ancient times, the feminine had battles fought and won for her. Men battled for her attention. She told the masculine where to aim his sword, and he would fight for the death for her. Grounded mothers at that time who were in their feminine wild woman souls would teach their sons and daughters how to ground themselves, as well as what a grounded woman looked like. She taught them what a wild woman looked like. She could do this because her partner, who was in his sacred masculine, was her protector. And the divine feminine cannot be shared if she is not safe. She is no tame creature. She is the most feared, most protected, the most regal of her household. She does not pretend to be a man, nor does she want to be. There is an amazing book called The Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And man or woman, I highly encourage you to read this book to understand the archetype of the divine feminine. And today we have a lot of women who are chasing the career, they're chasing the 9-to-5, they're doing. And please don't misunderstand that I am saying that women shouldn't be doing these things, right? Because we should. We are perfectly capable. And I have met so many amazing women who have built empires, and I am blessed to call them my friends. However, it's this encouragement from modern feminism to not only do that, but also to disregard the divine feminine nature of each and every woman. To disregard the sensuality, the sexuality, the groundedness, the earth and blood and bone. That is what makes us wild women. And that is where I see the danger. In Women Who Run with Wolves, Estes writes, "The comprehension of this wild woman nature is not a religion, but a practice. It is a psychology in its truest sense. Psyche meaning soul, and ology or logos meaning a knowing. So a knowing of the soul. Without her, women are without ears to hear her soul talk or to register the chiming of their own inner rhythms. Without her, women's inner eyes are closed by some shadowy hand, and large parts of their days are spent in a semi-paralyzing ennui, also known as wishful thinking. Without her, women lose the sureness of their footing. Without her, they forget why they're here. They hold on when they would best hold out. Without her, they take too little or too much or nothing at all. Without her, they are silent when they are in fact on fire. She is their regulator. The wild woman is their soulful heart, the same as the human heart that regulates the physical body." And as I've watched this transformation happen largely in my generation, I just turned 37, and I am so happy that women have come so far and come such a long way on this journey of standing tall and not asking permission for anything. Now, most of you know my philosophy on this, because women, listen to me clearly, it is not the patriarchy's fault that you aren't treated the way that you want to be treated. Okay, I believe this is a massive falsehood and a cultural codependence that we have fallen into, and it is time to stop. I don't look to anyone else, man, woman, or animal, for my own sense of worthiness. If you are looking to a man or the patriarchy or the presidency or anyone else for your sense of worthiness, for you to have the job that you want, to get paid what you want, then I ask you, at what point did you give your power away? And when did it become their right to determine your sense of worthiness in the first place? It is not them that must change. It is you. And when you engage with them in your full sense of worthiness, in your full authenticity, then they will have no choice but to engage with you at that level as well. And if they refuse, then don't engage at all. Most of my friends know this. And most of them will probably laugh if they listen to this episode, because they've seen it time and time again in big situations and in little ones, where if someone isn't engaging with me in a way that I deem appropriate, I don't try to change them. I simply leave because I'm not interested. So ladies, if you're sitting there feeling like we have to pick up the sword and the shield and carry on, I would ask you, who are you battling? Because at the end of the day, all the love and all the worthiness, all of the praise reside in you. And you can't find it anywhere else. It doesn't matter how many men do what you want or pay you what you want. Until you see it in you, it will never be enough. On the flip side, most of you know that I have a son who is 9 years old. And looking at this and looking at the trend of the way men are treated, that men are now being told that they are toxic if they aren't pressing into their feminine energies, that they shouldn't be a warrior, they shouldn't be a protector, they shouldn't be the leader in a relationship, that they should instead be soft and kind and nurturing. And granted, am I saying that men shouldn't be soft and kind and nurturing? Absolutely not. I so appreciate it when Joe is soft and kind and nurturing. I love it. And make no mistake, He is also a fierce warrior and a protector of our household. And I'm so grateful for that, because him leaning into his masculinity and absolutely refusing to give that up despite the way our culture is swinging has allowed me to lean into my feminine space. To, for the first time, cultivate the divine feminine in me, which has been truly an amazing experience. And going back to my son, it's a little terrifying for me to be raising a Caucasian boy at this time. Because here's the reality, is that our culture has a narrative written about your gender and your skin. And as a mother, I would hate for any of our sons to be judged based on those things instead of the quality of their character. And I hope, for the sake of the goddess, that I would be judged by that too. As a child, for any of you ladies who are listening, as a child, I had a pretty tumultuous childhood. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of emotional instability. And for all of you ladies out there listening who feel like you naturally have leaned into your masculine side, I can affirm that I'm right there with you. And I mentioned this before, that the divine feminine energies will not come out. It will not be present with you. It will be very challenging for you to tap into that, to tap into your natural rhythm, to the groundedness of the earth, unless you feel safe. And if you grew up in a household where you did not feel safe, you naturally probably lean into your masculine, because the masculine, again, is that protector and that warrior. And you needed to do that to feel safe. I did too. And today, if you are one of those women, you are probably praised for that at your job or your career. That you are a leader, you take charge, that you can create solutions, that you can make anything happen. I get it. I'm one of those too. And once again, I am never saying to abandon those things, because even if they were created out of instability, even if they were created out of not feeling safe as a child, they are still incredible qualities that you can use to learn even more and to grow even more. What I am saying is that it's time to release the hold, the grip so tight on that masculine energy, and begin to reconnect with the divine feminine in ourselves. To allow men to be men again and women to be women. To embrace the sensual, sexual side of yourselves, ladies. And if the thought of doing that terrifies you, that means you're on the right track. Men, I want to encourage you to be men. If that is appealing to you, to lean into the masculine side of yourself, to be the warrior, the protector, to be the hunter-gatherer. Ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, let the men in your life be men. You know, Joe has a lot of friends. I'm surrounded by a lot of guys, and there's plenty of times where they'll do things that make no sense to me, and that's okay, because they're being men. And as much as I adore each and every one of them, I do not want to be one of them. And honestly, one of the worst things that I see in relationships today is where women have leaned so much into their masculine side that they start to demasculate the man in their life. Where women expect men to be women because our culture has conditioned women to be men, and we expect them to have the capacity that we do, to be able to multitask the way we do, to think of all the things, plan all the plans, and be as nurturing, as caring as we are. We expect them to understand our emotions. We get angry that they don't. And we get frustrated that they can't do the same things that we can do because our culture has expected us to do the same things as them. And at the end of the day, they are left feeling defeated, and we are left conquering the mountain of rightness inside of us, because at the end of the day, we're right. We can do all the things that our culture has asked us to do. And so why not be equal? Why can't you men do the same things that women can do? But at the end of the day, just because we're right doesn't mean, number one, that we're happy, or that the cultural definition of being right at this point is balanced, because it's not. So often when this happens and women get frustrated, they are angry that their man just wants to be a man and doesn't also want to do all the things that the feminine does, that they don't naturally lean into their emotions, that they aren't naturally the nurturers. After we have torn them down because they aren't able to be us, we in essence stop being their partner, and we can very quickly take on a mother role where we scold them on doing things right and wrong. And I can promise you, if you get there, like, this is not a good path. If you get there, your sex life will die. You demasculate your man, your sex life will die. And the man will probably withdraw because he no longer feels validated as a man. And then you go through the motions. A little while down the road, you look at your relationship and wonder, what happened? You know, we met and things were sexy and amazing, and we talked and we connected, and now why am I not attracted to you anymore? Where did that young couple who are madly in love and crazy, where did they run away to? Where did the spark go? And ladies, if you're looking at your relationship, I can tell you where it went. If you're looking at your relationship and nodding as I'm talking that you're seeing this happen, I can tell you where the spark went. You killed it. Now, I am going to back up and say, is it your responsibility to validate your person? Is it your responsibility to validate your spouse? No, it's not. Men, you are responsible for validating yourselves. Women, you are responsible for validating yourselves, okay? Your sense of importance should not come from your partner. However, somewhere along the way, if there's a pattern of a woman demasculating a man in the sense where she's expecting him to be feminine because culture has expected her to be masculine, somewhere along the way, ladies, the priority went from putting love and care into your relationship to instead being right in your relationship. And it's an old saying, and it is completely true, that you can be right or you can be happy. But more often than not, you cannot be both. So the best advice I can give to women in a relationship with a man right now: let your man be a man. Stop expecting your man to naturally understand your emotions and your cycles, especially as we cycle. Be responsible for creating a space where you can effectively communicate your own emotional needs. He will not understand on his own. And if you have the expectation that he is supposed to read your mind, that he is supposed to know how you're feeling, it will set you up for failure. It is your responsibility to communicate what you need, ladies. And men, you are responsible for communicating what you need. Withdrawing and ghosting your woman is not communicating, nor is it being a man. That's just avoidance. Ladies, I will say, please stop trying to control or understand how men bond with each other. I know they do silly things. I know. I am in a relationship with a man who was in the military for 17 years. They do silly things. Let them be men and go do silly things. And I say that with love, because I know other men will look at the way that ladies, we bond with each other and say, oh my God, that's so silly, right? It's okay. We're not the same. We're not supposed to be. One last thing I'll say as I look at our culture and the state that we are in on this topic, where I think it's really interesting that we've had this complete resurgence of pagan and Viking culture in our modern era. Vikings are in vogue. There is a million books and TV series and movies that have come out based around these cultures and these tribes of ancient and pagan times. And here's a theory I'm going to throw out there. I think I know why we are so attracted to these portrayals, to these stories. I think we're attracted because they show real men being men, and they show real women being women. And like in those shows, these men and women characters embody the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. And while neither of them are the same, they are vastly different. They are both powerful and respected in their own right. I think that's why, ladies, we drool over these men. And men, why you lust after these women. Because they are the embodiment of everything that our culture is trying to tell us is wrong right now. When in actuality, it is the seat of where we long to be. So all that being said, how are we feeling? I know I said a lot of things in this podcast that are probably not in vogue, decently controversial, and not politically correct, and that's awesome. I love it, because I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What do you see? What is interesting to you about the state of modern feminism in society today? You can hit me up at the Soul Method Facebook page, which is at the Soul Method Yoga. That's at the Soul Method Yoga. Or you can email me. My email is my first name, Joelle, Joelle, at the.SoL.method.com. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your weekend. I will be podcasting next week. I can't wait to see you as we prepare the Yule celebration, we prepare the fires, and we look forward to the beginning of the new year. Until then, soul tread.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.